Started a long time ago. I would say the first time I ever sat down at a potter's wheel was in 1985. Attracted me first was native clay, coming across little deposits of clay. So I started making things out of it and then firing it on the beach. And I like the idea of keeping things kind of the place, like I like the idea of making things and processing them. Like you could see the fact that there was seaweed from the coastline where I found the clay. Yeah, I kind of gave up ceramics for a while, or I just wasn't in the position to do it. And then I came back to Oregon for a vacation, and a friend of mine had a ceramic throwing wheel in his backyard, and so I sat down at it, and it was a beautiful summer's day. As I began to spin the wheel and start to throw the clay, it was very, very peaceful. I remember that, and really feeling like I was just really at home there. Then I was off traveling again, and traveled for another 8 or 9 years, and then came back to the United States and started working at a glass manufacturer here in Portland, where they were making really beautiful stained glass. And during my job there, I was injured. I was out of work for over a year. I asked my friend if he would take me to the beach, because I knew at the Oregon beach here that there was some really beautiful clay deposits that are constantly washing into the ocean. So I had my body cast on, and I could hobble down the beach with crutches. And my friend Eric, he had a 5-gallon bucket, and I said, dig that, dig that clay there. It's really beautiful gray clay. And so he did that and filled up the bucket. And then I came back, and I had to live with my parents in a hospital bed for that time. But while I was there, I started making beads, just little beads by hand, just rolling little balls of clay in my fingers. And I did a rough count of how many beads I made during that 2-month process, and I made 6,000 beads. They were made, I took them back to the beach. I fired them in the driftwood there, just like I had many years earlier, to give them that connection to where I got the clay. So the place is really important to me. The spirit of the place and who I was at that place and the memories of that place. And that's actually a beach that I grew up on too, when I was like a little kid. So there's just a lot of content for me with making art and making objects that have to do with memory and have to do with organic processes, and even the organic process of our own bodies, healing while I was in that cast and making art at the same time. Completely connected ceramics and me, because of the kind of the trauma I went through making those beads. And then I left again, went traveling for quite some time, and then came back here again and decided to put my whole heart into doing clay. So I covered a living room, and I set up a potter's wheel and a couple of tables, and just started teaching myself how to throw. I'd never been to school for ceramics, and I still haven't really been to school for ceramics. I've been to a lot of workshops, hung out at a lot of academic ceramic facilities, and seen a lot of really great potters work. And that's kind of the way it is with ceramics. For me, and I think a lot of other people too, is it just kind of grows on you, and we teach each other. We learn and experiment and teach each other and do it again and do it again. It keeps on calling us back. The most profound thing that happened was when I was living in Sedona, Arizona, and I was part of a little pottery studio, and I heard of this thing called wood firing, firing the ceramics with wood. And I didn't know anything about it, but somebody says, oh, they're doing a workshop up at Northern Arizona State University, you should go. And it was really inexpensive, so I did go. And that's the first time I ever saw the amazing event of firing ceramics with wood. And it was 125 people just getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, whether they were older ladies or older gentlemen or young, and and inexperienced or very experienced. Everybody was out there with axes and hammers, and I thought this must be amazing, amazing thing, because what else would drive people to get up at that hour of the morning and go and chop wood? So I did experience firing with some of the greatest wood firers in America. Of course, I didn't know that at the time. I was pretty naive about all that. That really changed my relationship to ceramics, because I knew that that was a way that I could simultaneously create something, but then turn it over to nature and nature's elements and the processes of the elements, the fire and the water and the air. And then they had just as much to say, just as much to express on my work as I did. And I just thought that that was the best. I still think it's the best, a way for me to just experience and be part of nature. And the culmination, or the communication that we have, ends up being an object. And that object is completely unique, will never be redone again, and is an element of my own nature and where I cross over with other natural forces. So that's about it. That's up to date. Here I am.